Football.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the best of football. The World Cup 2026 has started. 10 African countries taking part. Nigeria is not there. Loads or tons of questions have been asked. We hope that before the World Cup runs out, the Nigerian Football Federation, otherwise known as the NFF, will be providing Nigerians with answers to why we are not there. The fanfare has been wonderful. The opening matches have been good too to watch, and the crew on the best of football will be dissecting and interrogating some of the things we've seen so far. And so I welcome you to the program again. And very quickly, everyone on set, I will introduce. Let me begin with Adenike Kinam.
All right. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to be here. And just it's been interesting. Let's talk. Let's talk football.
Okay, great. And on the opposite side, OJ Kere, Aikoje, simply OJ.
Thank you very much, Dudu. The World Cup is here and the matches have started, so we talk football.
Okay, and Jide, who I fondly call Lejaid. Welcome to the program again.
Thank you very much. Best of football. Good to be here.
Okay, there were resentments and reservations about World Cup 2026, and we looked at some of those things last week. But the football has started. What are your thoughts?
That's the thing with football. Once the football starts, people tend to keep those issues temporarily, not even forgotten about them, but just keep them aside, enjoy the football, and once in a while bring it back into the discussion.
Nike?
Yeah. Well, interesting. The beauty of the World Cup is the biggest stage. A lot will happen. A lot we'll get to see, and then that puts to rest all of the tensions before the match, but then before the games. And here we are. I don't even seem to remember some of those things, only when they are brought up. So I mean, it's the joy of having the World Cup on, and the excitement is at top notch as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, Jide, social media is quiet about those things about FIFA renting floors, 17th floor of Trump's tower, and the Somalian who's been sent back, unfortunately. What's your position?
Well, so last time I spoke about once the football starts, you tend to forget everything. But there's something peculiar about this particular World Cup. Just yesterday, we heard that the Uruguayan team was denied entry into the US for administrative reasons. Their plane wasn't allowed to fly, and they have a game today. So if you are not in the country 24 hours before your game, of course, it's going to be a problem. So this World Cup is, like I said, is very strange. As much as the football has been good, it's almost impossible to forget the off-field issues. But we'll see how it goes on from.
Well, I think I agree with Jide. It's difficult to forget the off-field issues because some teams are playing under strength or showing up under strength because of these non-field decisions. And have we seen the last of it?
I don't think so. I remember Vinicius said something about water, the hydration break, and he was like, no, he's not going to. There's supposed to be an interview, and he was like, no, he's not going to grant an interview. So it means it continues. Then the issue about commercials again. And there was this gist that during the hydration break nothing will happen, but then adverts started flying up and down like the NFL. So it's like taking the World Cup and bringing NFL stuff into the World Cup. So some players don't understand why it should be like that.
Yeah, when rules are beginning to be violated consistently, as you have just observed, will it not dampen the game again?
Well, it would. Not so much as would expect, in my opinion. And I think it boils down to the leadership of FIFA. What we have now is not perhaps what we used to have in the days of your Avalanche and, all of those. I think the weakness from the top is gradually affecting the game. It's going to tell on the total quality of, as it were, because it's not just about playing on the pitch. There's a lot more that contributes to playing well on the pitch. And if some of these things are not attended to, definitely there will be it will definitely trickle down to the performances. But then again, it is what it is. In every society, in every setting, there's always politics. And I think that's perhaps what's playing out here. Unfortunately, we all understand what the US is about, because most of these things really do, really do come from that angle, and the leadership especially. But then again, it is the game, and I just feel we have to go on. It only not so telling on us because we're not affected directly. For most of the countries who are participating and those who have been affected, they will feel it. But I'll choose to look on the bright side. I mean, it's the game's colorful. We see the beauty of it. I was saying the other time that I've been to LA a couple of times, but I didn't see I didn't imagine the stadium to be that beautiful. It is big, it is colorful, it's beautiful for the game and for the essence of it. I don't want to say I don't see any country doing it better, but they did well with the quality of water. They're not doing badly, honestly.
We'll come to. Nike wants us to see the brighter side of the game. I think.
I really do want us to see the brighter side. I was going through some of the things on the internet, and I saw the reception of the Air Maroc. I think that says a lot to Nigerians, and having a national carrier. This will be the first time the Moroccans will be flying into LA. They were properly welcomed, given the shower and all of that. I'm just seeing the bright side of the competition, and I think that's just me.
Jide, you are nodding in approval. Okay, let's hear you.
So yes, is half in approval, half in disapproval. Yeah. So there are bright sides to this World Cup. At least so far, the stadia have been filled. That despite all the stories about tickets not being sold and all of that, but stadia have been filled. That's a bright side. In Qatar, we struggle to see full stadia in many places. So that's obviously an improvement. I particularly like the idea of all 26 players surrounding the center circle before the game.
Yeah.
So there are things to appreciate. I just struggle to look away from all the unpleasant issues that this World Cup has. Because whether like you alluded to something earlier, some things are going to play on the strengths. Some things will play without adequate training time. All of these things impact on the quality of the football that you will see.
Absolutely.
Yeah. OJ, I like what the setting or the pace that Nika said, but can we look at Infantino's leadership, what it has done to this World Cup? I am very displeased.
Yeah, a lot of people will be displeased, really. I mean, again, it's good to look at the bright side, like Nick has said. But, at the end of the day, Infantino, the World Cup and Infantino will be judged by those non-bright sides, especially for those who will go back unhappy with the experience. I mean, they won't stop talking about it. And appears Infantino too hasn't helped with his way. I mean, coming out to say FIFA is helpless.
It was weakness.
It just shows weakness.
Really?
The impression someone like me had growing up was that FIFA was a different political party, a different army, different government of its own, that could do and undo. A country of its own, exactly. But from Haviland to Blatter. But with Infantino now, I'm trying to, we all have learned growing up. I'm trying to really understand if
it's the same FIFA. Well, honestly, it suddenly looks like a sitting duck that Trump is throwing everything at, and he's not reacting. Because I remember many years ago when Sepp Blatter visited one of the North African countries, and the president wanted to or shifted their meeting. The man left, and nothing. I mean, heavens will fall. But here we see Infantino throw his hands up in the air and say,
I think with Trump, everybody just tries. Most people try to be very careful, because now you're dealing with not just the regular leader. So sometimes, at the risk of losing everything, you tend to just do some waivers, be very careful. With Trump, everybody's just walking on eggshells. So I think that's a bit contributory to the fact that you're seeing all of this, in my opinion.
Okay, we'll take a break. And when we come back, we'll be looking at the performances of the teams in the opening games. And then, of course, at some point in the program, we'll also look at what we expect to see after this timeout.
Best of football.
All right, if you're just joining us, this is the best of football, and we are back. And in this time, we are going to be reviewing the opening matches of the 2026 World Cup. Let me start with Nike. Mexico, South Africa. Suddenly, every African is a Mexican.
For obvious reasons, I guess. Some Africans were even operating a hate watch party. I mean, most other African. I mean, it just says a lot about the kind of people we are. We love so much, and when we're disappointed, I don't want to say we hate so much as well. I remember growing up during the days of the apartheid and the anti-apartheid days, and we were in secondary school, I think I was, yeah. And I remember how many African countries stood against what it was. I remember it was more like a center of training for each of us. We all knew that it was bad and we stood against it. So it could be really heartbreaking seeing what is happening over there. The other day we saw, at the risk of coming to politics, seeing some of our Nigerians being brought back, and it was very hurtful, if I would put it mildly. And I think it just says a lot if we can give so much for that, and now see what is happening to our people and every other African countries. This xenophobia in South Africa. So having that translate to football, I think it's just easy because political messages are passed on football pitches too. So sometimes when you see this, you can't help but wonder. Mexico did do a good job. The home advantage, fine. But then again, seeing what they held it down quite well, and seeing what became of the matches, I mean, that particular one, I think it's very deserving, in my opinion, as much as it would sound hurtful. But I would say I joined some of the African countries to say that I was Mexican on the day as well.
Oh, yeah. Jide, the Aztec Stadium hosted the third opening World Cup game. That's something we can't boast about in this part of the country. It's very annoying. But again, let's look at the game, football qua football. I think the South Africans didn't rise up to the game.
No, they did not. In all honesty, I'm sure they disappointed themselves to a very large extent because prior to that, you had South Africa. South Africa actually believed they would do better than they did. And it was a very poor performance. You could tell that the atmosphere got the better of them. They were very jittery, almost scared, if you put it that way, because for the first 20-25 minutes, they were giving away passes, easy passes, couldn't control the ball. It was so... I've never watched a South African team play as badly as that. So,
elementary errors.
Very elementary errors. And everything that happened in the course of that game stemmed from what happened the first few minutes of the game. So in all honesty, Mexico deserved to win the game. Not only did South Africa play badly, they got cards that you couldn't even explain why they got those cards. You know, it was just such an embarrassing game to watch. And, you know, listening to my South African friends after the game, it was also a surprise to see most South Africans agree that they were horrible on the day, which is something they usually would not agree with. So they actually did agree they were pretty bad on the day. And now at this time, it's difficult to see how they'll qualify from that problem.
OJ, what you saw the South Africans, you see them moving forward?
Certainly no. I mean, after that game, you look at how would they come out against South Korea. Then against the Czech Republic, they obviously don't have that quality. And it goes back to what the coach said, admitting the fact that playing in Europe, has the kind of advantage it gives. The PSL might be beautiful in terms of economic gains for players, but in terms of quality at the national level, in the continent, since the last time they won it, they've not won it again. They're moving now to the world. It's obvious that they need to get players, push them out there in Europe. But again, the players are well paid in South Africa, which is the reason why they don't bother wanting to go out of South Africa. But if they really want to get to where the other countries are, especially in the World Cup, it means they still have a lot of work to do. In 2010, I still remember Shabalala's celebration. To me, my best of all the World Cups. But even that squad and this can be compared.
Yeah, I wonder how that happened. Just when you see them as club champions, more or less, in Africa, the quality of football they put up was just not it at all.
Again, you come again to where club football, you talk about the foreign players. They've got an influx of South American players because of the club has the money to bring those guys. They've got players from Chile, players from Brazil, from Uruguay, and even a few Portuguese play in Sundowns because they have the money to bring those guys in. So at the end of the day, it shows that whatever it is they're doing at Sundowns, to an extent, once you take out those players from South America and Portugal, it means Sundowns is not strong team, leaving the South African players there. And that's what we're seeing now with the national team.
Well, many years ago, let's say 2-3 decades ago, the influence of some European country players from other European countries into Serie A changed the face of the game. Gullit, Rijkaard, and Van Basten came from Holland. Bosnia came from Poland.
Vola, Germany.
Of course, and then Platini came from France. And, why isn't it impact? Why is the inflow of foreigners not changing the strength of the South African team?
Maybe it comes down again to the mentality of the South African players. Again, that I guess that's the difference. The mentality of the South African players. It shows again that those guys from South America probably are doing much more than the South African players, and that's why we're seeing now that this is a team of players from the PSL, and they can't push at the World Cup level.
Okay, OJ, I'll stay with you on the South Korea Czech Republic game. How did you see that one?
The switch from Czech, ahead to South Korea, eventually winning that game was fantastic. It shows how good the South Korean play. It was nice to see Song, back. He left the Premier League to the MLS. Now we'll see him back playing for the national team. It's good to see him. It was nice to see him again. And the quality was just there. Again, those guys are very fast. And once you can't cope with their pace, you have issues.
Jide, how did you see that game?
Okay, so for me, that's one of the top 3 games I've seen of the first 10 since this competition started. If you take away the Brazil, Morocco, and the Japan game as well. The game was very strange, really, because you had a very typical European side that depended on set pieces. Everything Czech Republic did in that game came from set pieces. You could tell that was the only way they thought they were going to score. And then an Asian team that would like to play the ball on the ground and are very fast, very technical team. In my opinion, South Korea deserved to win that game because they were the better side. They did all the right things in the game. Initially they got caught through the set piece power of the Czech team, but eventually the quality of their football came through, and they definitely showed that they were a better side on the day.
Ike, do you agree?
Yes, I kind of agree. Starting the goal, them starting the opening goal, it just was obvious they had all it took to win. The pace was there, and you can't take in literal terms the stamina with the Koreans. That really played out well for them at the end of the day. I could see their victory. Initially, I didn't see that. Initially, I was hoping that the Czech guys were going to come up and then do well. But then it's like they say often, football isn't mathematics. It actually did come to play as exactly as would say of that. We alluded to that too. So it was a deserving victory to me, in my opinion. I think I agree with.
Okay. South Korea deserved to win. Okay. Canada, Bosnia. How did you see that game?
Well, for the home team, you want them to get something. Canada not being a football, nation, but at least we've seen some of their products, players in Bayern in Europe, doing well, and so then the fact that that's emotional. They are hosts now; they shouldn't lose. It was good to see that they fought hard to get a draw in that game.
Yeah.
It was pleasing to the home crowd, in my opinion, because it would have been disastrous to be the host nation and then not get the victory, as it were. So, in my opinion, it was good, a draw. But I even though I don't guarantee what the next day is like,
At least they
but then
won.
it's a good day one. It's a good start. In my opinion.
Jide, a Nigerian-born player in the Canadian team is being celebrated so much. What's your reaction to that?
Well, it's funny how now if you don't want to go back to the whole drama about immigration, but the honest truth is virtually every country in the world is benefiting from immigration one way or the other.
Yeah.
So you have a Canada team that had 2 Nigerians start the game. There was Tani Oluwaseyi, there was Promise David, and they both started the game, And then you have Silarine, you have Jonathan David, who are also immigrants, even if maybe third, fourth generations, So clearly, the Canadians have a lot of quality, in all honesty. They just are not a real football nation in the sense, but in terms of individuality, they had a lot of quality. And it showed because for the most part in that game, they were the better side. It just seemed like they didn't really know what to do with the ball most of the time. They had the touches, they had the technique, but once they got to the final third of the game, they kind of lost their way. So I think it was fitting that the game ended 1-1 because in all honesty, no team deserved to win that game.
Oje, do you agree?
Yeah, I was shocked that Bosnia and Herzegovina. They've been to the World Cup before, and for a country that was carved out from the old Yugoslavia, it looks like when you take out Croatia, the remaining part of that, all the footballers are from the Croatian side in the back of the old Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
I was disappointed with their performance.
Okay, Nike, did they raise the issue of immigration or immigrants in Okon played for South Africa, he's a Nigerian.
Ime.
Yeah. But so why are they not complaining about him?
Because it's going to favor them. Like all the foreigners taking their jobs.
So
Jobs.
Okon took their job. And they're not complaining about him.
I thought they're not.
Okay. Now let's move on to the Saturday encounters. Nike, I start with you. USA versus Paraguay.
Pleasing, in my opinion. Pleasing in the sense that, I thought less of the US team. Not even though I would expect some level of quality. I was hoping that Paraguay, who haven't been there in 16 years, would have, made some points. The excitement was at top notch. But seeing how the Americans play, and the American spirits, it's never die. And when we're talking about Nigerians playing, we saw our good boy do a good job over there too. And when staying awake to watch that match was very gladdening for me. I was on the phone with another American friend who the next day was like, "Oh, why are you chatting to me at this time?" I'm like, "Your match now." Said, "Oh, we're playing." But it's typical American. They don't care, But, and I was just, literally chatting and saying, "Oh, this is what we're seeing. You guys are doing a good job." And, I just, the atmosphere for me, I'm particularly concerned about the general atmosphere of the setting. I think it was just permissible, so to speak, in the sense that we see a match that was very balanced in the sense that perhaps this will be their first time of scoring four goals in the World Cup. So that to me is remarkable, especially given all that they put together to make, because it takes a lot to host nations. So I think from the standpoint of the host nation, giving so much and then scoring 4-1, I just thought that I was expecting Paraguay to just do a little more, maybe. But then again, I think it's rewarding for the Americans to score the USA team.
Jide,
Boy.
Nigeria's Balogun
Balogun,
did a brace for US for the US, and he interestingly dedicated his goal, first goal, to his teammate at Arsenal, Alex Iwobi.
Yeah, so Folarin Balogun is a boy who grew up in Arsenal, basically. Could have played for the UK, could have played for Nigeria, could have played for the US, chose the US. Like last episode, they referenced how these boys play for countries they are much closer to based on the environments they grew up in. But yeah, he's a star man for the team. If you look away from a Pulisic, who most people might say is a bigger name, but if you personal opinion on current form, he's a star man for the American team. And he justified it. They were the better side, in all honesty. Paraguay disappointed me in the sense they didn't play like a typical South American team. For the most part in that game, they almost did not even touch the ball for large portions of the game. So it was very disappointing that they struggled that badly. But yeah, the better side won. And if you add home advantage and all of that, the US team might just go a bit further than most people expect.
Okay, Oji, Brazil, Morocco. Star feature for the first round.
I mean, Brazil is always Brazil, irrespective of who they are playing against. So a lot of people have expected Brazil would just take Morocco and finish Morocco. But credit to Morocco, not the best from the Moroccans anyway, because I thought they made a mistake allowing the coach to leave. This team doesn't look like the team that got to the semi-final, in Qatar. And they're just lucky to get away with a draw against Brazil. But knowing Brazil, we stopped playing games. I mean, we'll see more of Brazil. But it was nice to see Brazil. And we always liked, we grew up, first of all, being attached to Brazilian football. Before European football, came like a wildfire. But Brazil is always Brazil. Nice football.
Tell me something. Brazil having an Italian coach. Doesn't it sound like a clash of football cultures?
Yes. So it's actually not very surprising because if you look at the USA 94 team, I think for personal opinion, that's where Brazil started imitating European football styles. And I think that's where they really lost it. Because from that time, they've struggled really. It's trying to copy the Europeans has taken away all the flair that we grew up loving Brazil for. Now they are very mechanical players, and then you have a Brazil with number 9s like Richarlison, Igor Thiago. You can't see, there's almost no Brazilian left in those people, honestly. And, so you can understand why they will go for an Italian team because clearly, in their own opinion, their best players play in Europe. So they would rather go for a top European coach to manage the top European players that they have because that's the only way they see it going forward. Maybe it will work for them. But that game, in all honesty, if Morocco took their chances, they would have been 4-5 goals ahead in the first half, and Brazil would not have had a chance to come back. But then again, I think there was a bit of naivety in how Morocco played the later part of that game. From the time the coach took out Ibrahim Diaz, and took out some other very influential players, the tempo dropped, and then they allowed Brazil into the game. If you have a Brazilian team that starts with Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes and Paqueta, not very particularly fast players or very particularly agile players, if you are a young, agile team, you should be able to dominate the midfield, which is what you had with Ayub Boadi dominating the entire midfield throughout the game. So really, Brazil had no chance, no reason getting a draw in that game. I think for personal opinion, Morocco threw the game away.
Nike, Morocco threw the game away years, and like OJ alluded to in his opening, looks like the Moroccan team is not on the level we saw at the last World Cup.
Well, I think I would differ a bit. I just think maybe the Jeeters got the best part of them. If you look at that team very well on that day, they gave Brazil a tough time. And I think I want to believe that as the games come by, they'll bring their best foot forward. I don't think that it has really declined so badly like that. I want to think on the bright side, even though I'm not really so much of a Moroccan supporter. But then again, I want to believe they will do well as the days come.
Okay, OJ, Qatar, Switzerland.
From a Qatar point of view, South Asia, I think it was a big good result for them. One would have thought that Switzerland would just clean them out with players from Europe, players from the Premier League, but it turned out not to be so. The Forts pushed, and they got a goal thanks to a Brazilian who, played for. Again, we're talking about immigration. Every team is like every team has a share of their own portion of this. Of course, we know the over time. Nigerian played for Qatar, Clement Osahan, when Bonfrey was coach. So gradually, Qatar just grabbed several players, Brazilians inclusive. And from a Qatar point of view, 1 point. They didn't get any point from the last World Cup when they hosted. Now they've got 1 point.
Okay, we'll continue this session after this break. We'll still looking at some of those very interesting matches, and we'll be back with the Sunday games.
Best of football.
Welcome back. This is the best of football, and we're still looking at the early performances of the teams at World Cup 2026. OJ, Germany, Curacao. Do they have a football pitch in Curacao?
No, they do. They do. No, they played most of their games outside of qualifiers, but they do. I mean, they've got players. They've got a great Dick Advocate. I knew it was going to be difficult for them against Germany. It was 1-1 at some point, and I was like, how far can these guys go? Credit to them. Most of their players play in the Dutch league. You know, the relationship between with the Netherlands, and so it was easier to convince most of the guys to come and play for. And they were those who realized it could be difficult for them to play for the Netherlands just switched to play. I think qualifying first of all is they've achieved whatever it is they wanted to achieve.
It's something.
The experience. I mean, the story. They have a content creator who is even Moroccan, so it tells you that they're doing more of content creation than the football itself. Because coming to the US, they had a very creative, without balls, without windows. But coming to the football, I thought the Germans were wicked. 7-1.
No, I think they were triggered. I think they were triggered by that they got a goal from them. It was more of the trigger for me. Like, how dare you? Who goes there? I think I just knew that they were going to be beaten real bad. I was telling somebody beside me that, these people just triggered the German machine. They are going to deal with these people, But the excitement on their part was more appealing to me, The beauty of the World Cup is the participation, as much as everybody is coming for the victory. But for them, and then knowing how small they are, how far coming off the Netherlands, and, I think for me, it's victory to them, and it's quite something that's supposed to be commended. Some people will say they have the Wawa connection. Now, the Wawa connections are just those ones that come to just show face. I mean, they're part of that party, and there's really nothing bad about that, really. But I enjoyed the match. In my opinion, for me, it was a beautiful watch. Yeah, and if you see the audience, you could see their excitement, whether or not they were losing. They were just very happy they were there. And someone said this is just like an island of slaves, of black people somewhere. They just kept there and then they've come out to come and play. But then again, it is what it is. It's a nation and we celebrate them.
Okay, we celebrate them, and it's a good way to go. Jide, Netherlands, Japan. How did you see?
That was a good game. I expected a bit more from the Netherlands, of course. They're supposed to have much more quality. But then again, like I said earlier, for me, Korea and Japan, they are two of my favorite teams in the world when it comes to football. Because they kind of embody all of the various things that people are supposed to be taught about football. The techniques, the flair, so in Europe, certain parts of football training are coached out of you.
Yeah.
The flair is coached out of you. Nobody has time for you. But in Asia, they allow you express that. You still stick with the technicality, but they still allow you express your personal opinion about how football should be played. And I think that's why I like the Asians. Japan played very well. They started very well. At some point, the Dutch took over the game, and then they struggled in terms of aerial strengths. Corner kicks and free kicks were a problem for them, which is how Van Dijk got the goal. But, Japan, like Nika mentioned earlier in the show, stamina is something that Koreans and Japanese have in abundance.
True.
They never seem to stop. And I think that's overall what got them the draw in that game, because even though the time was almost up, they kept on going. And at a point when it seemed like the Dutch had, started fizzling out, the Japanese seemed to have extra energy. And somehow they managed to get the draw. It was a deserved draw. I think it was about the ideal score for that game, even though in my own opinion, I think the Japanese could have done better than they did. But a 2-2 draw was just fine for the game.
Okay, on Monday, another lethargic start by an African team, Cote d'Ivoire, v Ecuador. How did you see that game?
Well, one should have expected more from the Ecuadorians, but Jide just made us understand how Ecuador, just kept hitting the bar. First half will have been over for the Ivorians, but in football, I would say you only count the ones that that gets into the net, and so Ivory Coast were just lucky to get that final goal from Ahmad, and it was a good way to start for them.
Good way to start for the Ivorians, but do you see them progressing?
No. They don't have the quality to progress.
Oh dear. Okay, Jide, I'll put this on your table. Sweden, Tunisia. The Tunisians always seem not to come to the party at the World Cup. They are the first or second to qualify. You expect something more from them, like their neighbors, the Moroccans, but why are they not lighting it up?
So of all the North African teams, if you take away Libya, Morocco are Tunisia are the most ordinary North African team you can find anywhere. There's almost no quality in the team, and it's been like that for years. It got so bad that they started importing Brazilians into their national team at a point.
Wow.
Yes, in 2004.
But again, those guys played in Tunisia. Not as if they just went to Brazil to bring them in.
It sounded like they went. Naturalized them. Like they went. They could easily have decided to stay with their own indigenous people, So because, of course, they saw quality that their own people did not have, and then they decided to add them to the team. Tunisia they are perennial underachievers, in all honesty. Even in AFCON, they always underachieve. I really don't know what to say about that Tunisian team. Like I told a Tunisian friend this morning, they're about the only African team you can guarantee to go out in the first round. It's almost a guarantee. I don't know why it is that bad, because they're actually supposed to be, considering that they have one of the strongest leagues in Africa, they're supposed to be a powerhouse on the continent, but they always flatter to deceive. So what he told me, they have, I can't use the word he used on set, but he says their FA is a problem, and that they need to get rid of the people who are running their football. That unless they do that, they will not be able to do better than they are currently doing. So apparently they need to find a way to do better, because it's such a shame. Tunisia is such a big country in African football, world football. And they should not be embarrassed 5-1 like they did by Sweden, especially when the first and the last goal of the game was scored by a player.
Oh dear! And how did that happen, OJ?
Okay, he was born in Sweden, but parent from his dad. I think his mom is Moroccan. Jide just said his dad is from Sweden. His mom is Moroccan, so he could have also played for Morocco. And Tunisia, and it happens. He didn't celebrate the first goal, but I think he celebrated the second one.
Well, it looks like there's no team in the World Cup so far without an immigrant.
Every team has one. Everything.
I think you should be encouraged. Really, it's one world at the end of the day. Right?
It is a reality. There's really not
Even
much
the
you can
Japanese
do
goalkeeper
about it.
Suzuki.
Yes, he was born in the US.
Got Ghanaian, born in the
Ghanaian
US.
descent,
Got
yeah,
Ghanaian
Suzuki,
connection too.
Mother is
And
Korean.
Yeah.
Virtually every team. Even before the World Cup, teams that traditionally you almost never find immigrants, particularly blacks, in. You have Finland has Nigerians, has Ghanaians. You have, all kinds of countries. Greeks, even Greece has. I think the only country in the world that doesn't seem to have an immigrant now is Argentina. Maybe over time they will get there. But there's really not much you can do about it. The world has shrunk. It's a much smaller world than it was at the time, So if you have people move around the world that, like, even if not the current generation, second, third generations, you will have immigrants who will become eligible to play for those national teams.
Yeah, my early contact with the Nigerian national team, the Green Eagles, we had Ghanaians playing for us.
But
Dates back.
Yeah, not
Notice Boateng
Boateng
and-
even came late.
Okay.
The first scorer,
Two.
the first person to score a goal at the national stadium, Yakubu Mambo, was a Ghanaian,
Yeah.
and he played for Nigeria. And we had other players, Willie Andrews, who was in the Nigerian Olympic team in 1968 to the Mexico Olympics. You also had Fred Ayi, alias Baba Ali, a great favorite of the stationery stores fans. He was also Ghanaian. And you had Sefi Mohammed, Anas Ahmed, and the rest of them. We're all foreigners, foreign descent, but Nigerians. Okay, let's move on to Spain, Cape Verde. Jide?
Spain, Cape Verde. That's a game I'm looking forward to watch. So everybody expects Spain to win. But Cape Verde is a team that has grown in leaps and bounds over the last few years. And then, of course, a large number of their players play in Portugal, which is right next door to Spain. They're about a couple or three of them also play in lower divisions clubs in Spain. So in terms of exposure, Cape Verde has quite a bit of exposure. And they've shown in AFCONs and African qualifiers recently, they are not a pushover to anybody. Of course, we know that Spanish team is slightly ahead in terms of overall quality. But I think Cape Verde will pull their weight over the course of 90 minutes, even if Spain will probably eventually win the game.
Nike, how do you see the young stars in Spain shaping out against? Because sometimes these superstars, when they see teams that are smaller, they might just take the game for granted and surprise.
And that's where experience is experience and coordination would come in. Sometimes you would expect them not to perform well, but what we have, the lineup of the Spanish side, I want to believe that the young ones are looking to do great things from that side too. Even though not so much is expected, like as Jide said, from Cape Verde, but experience would definitely. Coordination on the coach's side would make them go ahead if they are handled properly. Because with the younger ones, you experience you tend to experience more of the verve to play, and if they put that well on board, we'll see them do well.
Yes, that's one thing I see about Lamine Yamal. It's like he's playing. He's playing on the field. He's not, yet he's doing lots of damage.
Yeah, he likes what he's doing. I mean, a young guy who I'm sure in his head, he's still imagining, am I the one doing this? So he's and I like him for that. He's dedicated. He's passionate about it, and so when he gets onto the field, it's like this is what I want to do. This is what I love doing, and he does it on the pitch.
And he's being paid for what he loves.
Being paid exactly for what he loves.
Okay, Jide, let's visit the other African team, Egypt. For me, they've always been poor travelers. Do you expect much from them in this World Cup and in the opening game against Belgium?
If it was any other team, I would expect a lot from them. But because they are playing Belgium, I really don't see how much they can do. I think it's going to be more of, they will try to stand up as much as they can. But overall, I think it's going to be a damage limitation type of game for Egypt. They don't have as much quality as they had in the past. One of those countries that have strong leagues in Africa, a strong league in Africa. But, as we've seen with South Africa, Tunisia, it seems having a strong league in Africa is not enough. Exposure on the world scene is very, very important. So, Egypt has a Mamouche, they have Salah, they have a few other people who are well known around the world. But compared to a Belgium, they are definitely not on the same level. So I see a Belgium win. Egypt will do the best they can not to get disgraced. I see a slim win because overall, Egypt, they actually have a very good defense, if nothing else. Their defense has over time proven to be quite good. So I don't think they will concede too many goals, but I do not see how they are going to win. But they will definitely not disgrace Africa on that win.
Okay. Nike, Belgium, in my opinion, always looks like a group of pretenders. You see world-class players all over the place, but they return average performance.
But I don't see that happening here too, especially playing against a side as Egypt. But as the game progresses, as the World Cup progresses, I think that they may fizzle out. I don't see them going far so far in this tournament. But I think that, like you said, pretentious. But that doesn't really, if you check history and how well they've done, I still look forward to something good. Maybe I like to see things on the bright side. If pretentious would mean, they don't give as much as you would expect, or how do you?
And what I mean is, you look at, players who otherwise they look good enough, but they are delivering.
They come together, they don't deliver.
Yeah, they don't deliver.
Individually.
Which reminds you of the Ivorian golden generation. We all thought they were going to win many AFCONs. They didn't. In fact, if you think about it, this current Belgian team is not the golden generation. The golden generation was the one in which Hazard was in, Company was in. That was the team that Belgium thought would win titles. They did not win. So this team is, compared to that one, this team is pretty ordinary. And they will almost certainly not go very far in the competition.
It's shameful that this team has more immigrants than the team when Angel Schifo. Schifo is even, from Italy, originally from Italy. But his generation had a better squad. I've not seen a Belgian side better than that era of Schifo, even without the the black players coming in, Belgian players, Moroccans in Belgium, and now they even have more to pick from compared to the days of Schifo. So it's still average Belgian side. When it comes to when European teams are even, you're picking European teams, you won't even count.
Well, so sad for a team that a country that once was our launch pad.
Yeah.
For Nigeria. Belgium was our launch pad, and maybe our biggest export to Europe in a long time, Stephen Keshi, he made his mark there, and again, easily the player would have been our first world-class player. Etimesin squandered his talents there. And to think that's that platform can't even provide for itself now.
It's shameful with all the, with the way football is now, the academies and all of that, with quality of coaching. In Europe, Belgium is just still there, struggling to. Even when it comes to, if you take away the World Cup, for example, the American teams are not there. Even at the Euros, Belgium is not. Even you go to club football again in Europe, they're still not there.
Okay, we will take a break. When we come back, we'll round up the program for this week and look to the next few days for some of the most exciting or an improved excitement in the World Cup.
Best of football.
Welcome back. This is still the best of football and hitting your screens or whatever platform you're watching from. And as we said at the beginning of the program, that we are back and with a bang. We will close this program, today's edition, when we give our overall impressions of the World Cup so far. Jide?
Yeah, so on the field, the football has not been bad. Even for the teams that we didn't expect to do very much, they've not disgraced themselves. If you take away 7-1, that was. But in all honesty, considering the quality that team had, I don't even see it as a disgrace. The fact that they got there ahead of some other more established teams was great. So the football hasn't been bad. We just hope it gets better, which it will get better because the group stages of the tournaments are usually like this. I'm sure as we get closer to the knockout rounds, we'll see improved football.
Who are your peak of players so far?
I particularly like Morocco's number 6, Ayub Boadi, 18. Turning 19 later this year. That's a superstar in the making. He has shown a lot. Arsenal, Real Madrid, Chelsea, everybody's chasing him at the moment. So that's somebody to watch out for. Every other person who has shown is already established. I'm not sure there's too much to say.
Ike?
Yes, it's looking good already, starting off quite well. My excitement is always looking forward to the new ones being discovered, which is usually the essence of the game. I want to see some situations where we'll be wowed at, oh no, we weren't expecting this. And I don't know, I just have a thing for the English side.
Okay, we'll wait to see what England will do. OJ?
I think for all Fulani has done for Monaco, it's nice to see him, play for the US and show the stuff he's got. Then for Japan, Kamada, Crystal Palace won the Europa, the Conference League, played in Frankfurt, has shown that Japanese players can play anywhere in the world. He's played in Belgium, played in Frankfurt, now playing for Crystal Palace in the Premier League, and I want to see what CR7 would do when Portugal gets to play this week.
Okay. Well, for me, it's been an interesting opening, and we thank God that those off-field distractions are going down, and we're beginning to see football. And a few teams have disappointed, but some are showing great promise, and we would like to see more from them as the tournament progresses. From Nike?
From me, it's just looking forward to a great time and the best of football as we expect during this World Cup.
Jide?
Yeah, the football will get better, clearly. It looks like a World Cup we will enjoy, so we'll look forward to more.
OJ, closing?
Yeah, best of football as the World Cup unfolds. Like I said, many people waiting to see what Portugal, Ronaldo, will give us when they play.
All right, this is where we draw the curtain on the best of football this week. Next week, we'll be back, more of the World Cup. Thank you for staying with the best of football.
Best Best of football.